Nice chatting with you. Whatever.
So plainly said, my headcanon is Teen Titans is the sequel series to The Batman, and both are made better by it. Now why do I think this? What's my evidence? Well, sit back, relax, and keep an open mind as I plead my case, starting with 1. Killer Moth's evolution. He was there on Robin's very first mission with the Batman as this wimpy goof.
Looks like I'm not the only one with a lackey.
Who's the lackey now, huh?
Sure.
Then he got mutated into this. Which would then lead him to becoming this in Teen Titans. Hell, this episode even had Robin immediately start down the path of learning teamwork, with him having to be in sync with Batgirl so they wouldn't stumble over each other. You know, just like he had to do with Cyborg years later. It also explains how Killer Moth was able to have his daughter, Kitten. She was born pre-mutation. Number 2.
I might even become like a father to you.
I already have a father.
Slade Wilson, more widely known as Deathstroke, was the first real villain in Teen Titans. Cold, calculating, and cruel. The threat he posed to the city drove Robin to absolute obsession and destructive ends. Robin would lie to his friends, create a villain identity of his own with Red X, just to get intel on Slade. This pushed himself to the limits as much as he pushed away his loved ones. Honestly, much like Batman. Too much like Batman. But all of this was according to Slade's plan. He never wanted to be Robin's nemesis. He wanted to be his master. In the Season 1 finale, he does successfully recruit Robin to be his apprentice under the weighted threat of murdering all of the Titans. In fact, if it was not for this moment here with Starfire, he may have fallen off the edge completely.
Robin, you are my best friend. I cannot be in a world where we must fight. Go ahead.
Starfire, no!
The icy, impactful voice of Ron Perlman gave Slade an unmistakable voice.
The day has begun. It's been a long time, hasn't it, Titans? A month? A year? A millennium? You get one chance, Batman.
But wait, did he just say Batman? I believe that this episode of The Batman, Rumor, was meant to be a crossover that they couldn't get the green light to do, but they did what they could with what they had. It's also important to remember that one of the producers of Teen Titans, Glenn Murakami, went from that show to The Batman after the 4th season of Teen Titans, which was originally meant to be the end of that show until Cartoon Network gave them another season. This random villain was able to capture every single rogue in Gotham and fight the Batman, Robin, and Catwoman using the cloaking technology, which leads to another tie in lore. You see, this line from Slade always felt off and almost childish.
Why couldn't Starfire see you?
I believe you are familiar with cloaking technology.
But seeing that actual tech be used right here suddenly makes this make a hell of a lot more sense why Robin would fully believe it. This is a perfect way to build up a new, dangerous threat. In the end, the duo fought and beat their entire rogues gallery simultaneously while saving not Slade, since the villains were about to murder him for trying to kill them. This created the moment I believe Slade was determined to humiliate Batman and make Robin his apprentice. Funny enough, if you look into the trivia of this episode, it's actually true. The villain was not supposed to be this new creation, Rumor. It was supposed to be Hush, this guy from the comics and this concept art we never got. But honestly, there's too many similarities in speech and possible lore applications that makes me think otherwise. Number 3.
Hey, this isn't your town!
Just moved here, and from now on, I work alone.
The Batman ends with his recruitment into the Justice League, And I want you to look at its members. Green Arrow in the League and Speedy is in the Titans. The Flash and Kid Flash are both accounted for by each team. But the point is that the Batman series ends with his plate becoming so full, with now having to look over the entire world. It made a perfect opportunity for Robin to graduate to make a team of his own on the opposite side of the country. So what am I suggesting? I believe that Teen Titans is in essence a Wayne-funded extended teen superhero summer camp with 4 camp leaders and 1 child. Number 4. Batman does show up in Teen Titans in the tie-in comics. Teen Titans Go, once again, not the comedy TV show, comic issue 47. This whole comic is actually narrated by Batman, and by the end, he reveals that he's been keeping tabs on Robin from afar, especially on the anniversary of a tragedy that we'll get into in a moment. And although you can only see his cowl, it is very similar to the later seasons of the Batman. 2 things you can see from this comic though. First, this is a Bruce that still very much cares about Robin. They did not split on bad terms. And not to mention, the Batman is a very, very Bat-Dad version of the Dark Knight. He even smiles. Number 2. This graveyard scene, look at the sky, it's green. The Batman constantly uses monocolored skies, red, purple, and just like here, green. And now finally.
Let me guess, this is one of those not the easy way, but the right way moments?
Robin is not only the same person, he has a character arc when you combine the 2 shows. So let's dispel the mystery. There are 4 male Robins that have worked with Batman in the comics. The first was Richard Grayson, who becomes his own hero, Nightwing. The second was Jason Todd, whose hot-headedness got him killed by the Joker, and unfortunately the fans of the comics during that time who voted to kill him. He gets revived and becomes the anti-hero, Red Hood. Third was Tim Drake, who was the main Robin in Batman the New Animated Series. His comic counterpart was the one that started using the bow staff, and eventually he becomes Red Robin. And finally, there is the 4th and current Robin, Damian Wayne. Bruce's biological son with Talia al Ghul through unconventional methods. He is the main Robin of the DCAMU. Now, from all of this, it's obvious that Robin's identity is Richard Grayson in both of these shows, even though he uses a bow staff like Tim Drake. We have proof because Larry, an interdimensional imp, is a DNA match to Robin, and his name is Dick Grayson, spelled backwards. Also, we have seen the future version of this Robin, and he becomes Nightwing. And let me preface this next part by saying Nightwing is my favorite superhero ever. He is a balance of kindness and strength, and being authentically a hero in all definitions of the word, and never losing his heart. So I say this with love. Dick Grayson is a spoiled rotten brat who gets upset when he doesn't get his way immediately. He's an overly competitive, obsessive, arrogant ass that would snap at you for talking too loudly in the library. And that's okay, because flaws are okay. He is also highly motivated, intelligent, intuitive, intensely protective, a natural leader, and has a very, very strong moral core. For a character to have an arc, they have to have something to learn, and to become a better version of themselves because of it. And by the end of Teen Titans, Richard is a far, far cry from where he started. So, let's finally talk about how this all began. The tragedy hinted at before. The Grayson family, better known as the Flying Graysons, were trapeze artists for Haley's Circus. John and Mary Grayson and their young son, Richard. Their mastery of acrobatics was so well known, they would continue to push the envelope further and further by performing their dangerous acts without any safety precautions. As with everything in Gotham, something went wrong.
John Grayson, the circus manager. Can I help you?
I'd like to think I'm here to help you, John. For a small fee. Family's the most important thing. Not sure what I'd do if something happened to them.
And Tony Zuko personally decided to make them pay another way. While John and Mary prepare in the family dressing room, Richard refused to come out. Eventually caving, he walks out wearing a colorful uniform his mother had handmade for him.
When I see you up there, Richard, you make me think of a little Robin.
Soon, John and Mary Grayson take to the high wires in front of a massive crowd in Gotham, including the famous Bruce Wayne. The cheer from the crowd grew with each and every catch and throw from the lovers, and just as their son is about to join them in the routine, the wire that had been their livelihood, what their family is defined by, snaps. Mary, in her final decision as a mother, was to reach pleadingly to her son, her arms stretched out and focused on her pride and joy, as she and her love are cruelly silenced by the impact of the pavement. Richard breaks down and locks in a deep-seated fear of heights. Bruce Wayne, who saw the whole event play out in front of him, curses himself for taking time off at all. A few days pass, and Wayne immediately pays for all the funeral costs. Meeting Richard at the grave of his recently lost parents, the boy thanks the man for his kindness, but he can't take his eyes off the parents' gravestones.
His parents were all the family that boy had.
That's why I've decided to take him in, if he'll have me. I was lucky enough to have you to guide me through those dark days, Alfred. Dick deserves the same.
Richard agrees and soon moves into Wayne Manor, as Batman puts all of his time and energy into finding the man who did this.
Tony Zuko. I want answers.
Richard gets bored after a few days of silence and starts snooping around in his new home. It's not long before he finds the Batcave, and after a moment of joy and childish wonder, chooses to be a hero like Batman. Making a costume out of his final gift, he finds Batman, and they work together to get Tony arrested for his crimes. Batman is very impressed and decides to raise him as not only his son, but as a hero.
We'd have to give you a name.
How about Robin?
Like the bird?
It's a family name.
A small Easter egg in this episode is John Grayson was voiced by the late, great Kevin Conroy, the original Batman voice of the 1990s Batman animated series. And Tony Zuko is voiced by Mark Hamill.
If you stick your nose in, it might get cut off.
So why bring this up? Teen Titans even provides a thematic closure for Robin in the season 4 finale of the show. Robin is in pseudo-hell to save Raven. To save her, they show how much Robin has grown and matured. First, he is forced to work with Slade, the same villain he's been obsessively tracking and trying to capture, but has to not only work with him, but let him go to save a friend in dire need. When he does find Raven, she has regressed to a small child.
Raven, it's me, Robin.
I'm lost.
I know. You don't need to be afraid anymore. I can help you, but you have to let me.
He is kind and cautious with her as he does his best to protect and carry her back to the surface while telling her stories of their adventures together. But as he is climbing the side of a cliff, a rumble causes them to rapidly start falling. He is able to save himself with a quick grab, but the young girl is flung off his back and is falling with her arms stretched out toward him, just like his mother. Refusing to hand death another member of his family, he proves his love of others is greater than that of his own fear as he dives headfirst into the exact cause of his parents' demise. Never once brings this up because here it is her story, not his.
It's all over now.
Yeah, it's the end of the world. But so what? We're still here.
Look at me, Robin. There's nothing I can do. There isn't any hope.
I'll just have to have enough hope for the both of us.
This completes a lineage of hope that is amazing once you see it. The Batman is one of, if not the healthiest of the Batmen.
You picked us, Batman, because you knew we were strong.
About being strong enough to help you.
Even when you think you don't need us.
It's never been about not needing you. It's about not losing you.
This leads Robin to be a hopeful leader who immediately recognizes pain and loneliness in his newly found friends to make them a team and eventually a family. But all this aside, this is nothing but my personal speculation. I could talk about this forever. I would love nothing more than to combine two of my favorite shows. But what do you think? Does this have any merit? Let me know in the comments below. I will talk to you all later. Bye.